Alright, we're back. Okay, so I'm going to put this back together. We got to figure out what jets we have. Figure out what we're going to do here. So, what we're going to do is get our stuff out. We're going to get to it. So that means I got to get this out of the way. Here's our jet assortment. You need to put it somewhere where you'll fall, make it fall real easy so you can make a big mess. Okay. So this is an, I'm assuming just a normal stock 80-inch Evo motor, nothing special. It's got some crappy pipes and it run like crap. So who knows what jetting we're really going to need. So I'm going to start out with some generic jetting. Okay, this here had a 74 jet in here. If you look really closely, you can see it's a 74. Okay, so 74 is this one here. I'm going to drop back to a 72, which is pretty rich most of the time. And I'm going to use a 31 on the top, on the main low-speed jet. Oh, yeah, the hole. Alright, so there's our 31. What else is in there? There's a lot of them in there. Oops, drop it back in the hole. Okay, so that's a good starting point. Should be on the rich side, I would think. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so this threads into here. Goes right in there like that, except see it doesn't work that way. So you have to go the other direction. Ah, the threads work now. See right there, it threads in. Okay, the emulsion tube threads back in the body right here. And then your main jet threads on top of that right there. There it goes. Alright, tighten all that down with a wrench would really help. Okay, so there we go. I'll blow it up a little bit for you. Okay, first thing is a 1/2-inch wrench. Tighten that up. Get our main jet wrench. It's tight. We got our low speed jet. Tight. We take our idle mixture screw, put it back in its hole. Lower. Screw it until it just touches. Don't force it. So it pokes through the body right down in here. If it's ever been forced, you'll see it's actually the aluminum will dimple out and then it'll crack and break off. So if you see it pooched out, that means someone torqued the snot out of it. If you see it all fractured and broken off, they destroyed the carburetor for you. Okay, so when you're looking for used ones, keep an eye on those things. So we're going to turn about 1.5 inches to start, or 1.5 turns I should say. It's half, 1, 1.5. So usually it's somewhere around 1.5 to 2 turns out, so 1.5 is a good starting point. You can go a little extra on a 3/4 if you want. Maybe do 1.5 is fine. Alright, so we got our low speed jet installed, main jet installed, idle mixture adjusted. We already previously did the float adjustment, so that should be good. We already got our gasket, so what I'm going to do is figure out how to put it on there. When it fits over everything, it's good. Put this all in now. We don't have an accelerator pump. Here's our accelerator pump right here. We're assuming this is all good up inside of here. We won't know until you put liquid in it. So when you put liquid in here, you find out if it's good or bad. So it's very important that you have your little O-ring right here. That seals right up against the inside of here. It seals the air hole coming through the carburetor here. I'm blowing up too much. So that will be a big air leak if you don't have that O-ring in there. And it will not run very good if you do it like that. So if you line up all the holes correctly, it goes together. I don't know why this one binds up so much. Something is binding on. Don't know what that is. It's something is not being happy. So what is possibly wrong? First thing I'm going to do is pull out the push rod for the accelerator pump and see if all the problems go away. And all the problems did not go away. It still does not want to go down. It doesn't want to go together. It should just slide right together. So something else is wrong. Pull the gasket out, get that out of the way. See if that does the trick. There we go. Okay, that gasket is a problem. So let's put the accelerator pump back in here and see if that problem went away when we pulled the gasket. Pretty much went away. We have a little bit of pressure on the accelerator pump, which we expect to have, but not fighting it. Okay, so there's something wrong with that gasket. It doesn't like this carburetor. So the S&S gasket is not fitting. You can plainly see right here the gasket is hitting on something pretty hard right here. It's not supposed to be there. So let's go ahead and see what that area is. So that area is right here where this tube goes. So evidently they have made a change so that you can't use S&S parts. That's one way of getting around patents. You make changes and things. So if you make enough changes, the patents don't count. What am I doing wrong here? I'm doing something bogus here. What's going on here? What's going on? That goes in there, that goes in there, that goes there. Okay, so that all goes up in the tube. So the tube is straight. It's going the hole nice and evenly, so it's not. So the tube has not ever been bent, so that's a big plus. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut this gasket away right here. It doesn't matter how much you cut away because it doesn't do anything. It's not supposed to be hitting there at all. So I'm just going to take a pair of dikes and blow that whole area away. Trash. Stuff's pretty petrified. Okay, so now that gasket is no longer going to be a problem. Plenty of clearance, no issues. Check on this side. Lots of clearance, no issues. There we go. So we went back together that close. So we're still fighting a little bit at the very end. So something is still a little off. There it went on. My guess is the overflow is slightly different. That hole right there, but that could be just some shrinkage from being dry. Now it goes right together like it's supposed to. Okay, so problem fixed. It goes together like it wants to be. We got everything back in like it's supposed to be. So screw it together. I usually like putting a long screw in first. Go 180 around and do the other side. Get all the screws started before you torque them down. So now I know you cannot use an S&S gasket out of the box on an Ultimate carburetor. You have to do some modifications. That screw's tight. Make sure that one's tight. It is. We've got our big long one here. It's tight also. We'll come back on that one. It's good. Got a long ways to pull, so I like stop and get the other side and make it more even. Okay, so that goes like that. Make sure this works. Okay. So we don't know if the accelerator pump works or not. We got to tell that when we put fuel in it. So that should be good. Okay, we know this is good here, so that's good. Okay, now we need another gasket for here. Oh, we got to fix this problem right here. So I got one little small one left here in my rubber area. I have a big container of these that are in on my shelf, on my front sales counter, but I have no idea where those are at right now. You want to make sure these go on nice and tight. That one goes on there good and tight. Some guys will put a zip tie on here to help hold them on because their bike backfires a lot. Your bike shouldn't be backfiring a lot to fix the problem. Okay, I don't like pushing it right up against the very top, give a little breathing room. Okay, so that one's plugged up there. We'll have to Loctite the other one. Okay, so that part's handled. Okay, so the carburetor is ready to go on the bike. Okay, this here, we need to get an O-ring that goes in here. This is a very thick O-ring, so it's probably like a B carburetor instead of an E carburetor. So we got to find the gasket and O-ring for that application. So B. These are very thick O-rings, and that takes up the gap like it's supposed to. Doesn't want to quite stay in there. You put a little grease in there to help hold it in if it doesn't stay in. It's staying in there now. So that's out of a B carb. These are G carbs. See how thin they are, but they're real big diameter. Here's your E carb O-ring. It's real thin. See how thin it is? Versus this big fat one here. See a difference? So this one here would not work on this application. It would just fall out or it would leak. So it doesn't do anything. So you got to use the right parts. If the O-ring doesn't have compressing on it, it doesn't work. It has to have compression. Okay, there's a bunch of gaskets. E and G carb. That's the outside of the carb. Okay. So, that one. Alright, so now we got this air leak fixed. Got this air leak fixed. And the other air leak is over here. We need to fix it. By putting Loctite on it. This is my old Loctite. This is Dad's old Loctite. It's really old. I've never had old Loctite not work. This is the original capillary action Loctite. Wicking grade. Alright, so I got a good layer of Loctite on that. You want to make sure you get a fairly decent layer so it'll seal up the whole thread as well as being lock it in. But we need it more for the sealing right now than it is for locking. The wicking grade will go in there and seal up any kind of holes or voids. So it's a little bit better than using like blue on there. Okay, I need a little wrench. That's a small one. Probably 3/8 would be my guess. There's a 3/8. I'd be wrong. It's definitely raw rubber, so be careful. 7/16. Alright, so the rubber compressed quite a bit. It will loosen up over time because the rubber will give. So I'm going to put our bolts back in here. Like that. Take our rubber. The O-ring goes against the manifold because the manifold has no seal on it. Okay. Put a little dab of Loctite on the thread. Not too much. I'm going to go put this on. Here's the O-ring seal for this surface. So all your surfaces have to have an O-ring on it. You don't want to have O-ring to O-ring, that doesn't do anything. Okay, you get this top bolt started first. Then you go down the bottom bolt and push it in and start it. So you go on the other side of the bike for that. So kick the camera out of the way. That's good enough. Doesn't feel very good. There it goes. Okay. A little bit more torque on that. So get our big ratchet. Should have a ball driver on this, but we'll make do. Alright. Okay, so now that's all mounted up in there good, stout. Make sure everything's pulled in nicely, nice and tight, not going anywhere. Okay, now you gotta put our cables in here. So let's see what they got going on up here. Okay, I see that's loose for some reason. So you see stuff loose, that's when you start looking at other issues. Should be 3/8 I recall. Tighten that up. Okay, we're assuming everything in there is in there correctly, but you never know. So if it doesn't work freely, we'll have to go back and work on that too. Okay, so first thing I do on this, let's make sure this is going to actually work. So I put pressure down here and work the throttle. Seems to be working correctly. It's pretty tight though, but I go up here and loosen this stuff up right here. It's tight. 2 pressing wrenches. We can do that. Okay, I pulled those out to make sure they're good. Need some cable lube on these things. They're pretty dry. I have no cable lube. Back to looking for my chemicals again. It sucks when you don't have your chemicals. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go on a great chemical search again. We'll be back in a little bit.